Hey guys, welcome to DevOps School. In this video tutorial, we are going to learn about Kubernetes. Kubernetes is developed by Google and it is an open source platform that automates container operations. It eliminates many of the manual processes involved in deploying and scaling containerized applications. After going through this tutorial, I promise you that the concept and understanding of the Kubernetes will be absolutely clear to you.
But before that, let me ask you a few things. Are you dreaming of a career with higher pay and more responsibilities? Or are you ready to take your skills to the next level this year? Then start investing in DevOps School certification level courses which will help you to emerge skills for a wide range of entry-level roles and as well as higher potential future positions. But with thousands of courses online and in classroom worldwide, finding the right one for your career goals can be difficult. You can consider our courses like Agile Developer, Agile QA, DevOps Certified Professionals, Site Reliability Engineering, DevSecOps, and Masters in DevOps Engineering, where you will have access to well-structured, easy-to-follow course content that has been developed and will be delivered by industry professionals. You can join on our training programs globally through online platforms, and if you are looking for classroom workshops, then we have regular sessions available in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi NCR, Mumbai, and in Pune. Simply compare our many courses, find the one that suits your style and schedule best, and start today.
So now I'm going to talk about different services that is called storage related. Okay, so far you were working with the compute related services. Pod is a compute service. Pod, replication controller, and deployment is a compute service, whereas service is a domain related service, load balancers and stuff like that. So now I'm going to talk about storage related technologies. So let's understand this. So guys, the problems, what is the problem you're trying to solve here? The problem here is how does this the problem is on disk file in a containers are inferior. So you know that containers are inferior, pods are inferior. So once the pod is gone, so that will you never get back. So if the data which is along with the pod containers, that is also gone. So the problem is this is the problem, like how can we have the data persistency? How can we have a data persistency? For this, how does the storage volumes are handled inside the Kubernetes cluster? How can data persist beyond pod life cycle? Okay, so here when you say beyond pod life cycle, that means even the pod is gone, the data should not be going. So this data should persist. So how can containers share files between the containers in the pod? So yep, these are the problems we are trying to solve. And how can you solve it? Through the Kubernetes volume. Yes, Kubernetes volume abstractions solve all of these problems. Okay, so Kubernetes volumes will help you to solve all this problem. So did you understand that what problem you are trying to solve now, all of you?
Yes.
Okay, so now look at this here, guys. Okay, here we discuss about pod, replace the replication controller with a deployment. Okay, this is a new one, and replication controller is deprecated. Then we discuss also as services already. Now HPA and all we'll discuss later in advanced topic, but here I'm talking about the bottom line, which is storage, persistency, volumes, and claim. Okay, so overall this is the platform, Kubernetes platform: pod, replication controller, deployment, services, HP, and all sort of things, and storage. So here we are focusing on storage. So now the question is, how does Kubernetes communicate with the storage? Okay, because storage has a different technologies, right? So how this Kubernetes can communicate with the storage? Okay, so Kubernetes uses control plane interfaces. That means Kubernetes uses control plane interfaces to connect to external storage, to understand the external storage. These interfaces link Kubernetes with this external storage. These external storage solution linked to the Kubernetes are called volume plugin. Yes. So the question was, how this Kubernetes understand this external storage? Kubernetes understand this external storage through the plugin which is called volume plugin. Okay, So what exactly volume plugin is doing? Volume plugin enable abstracting storage and grant storage portability. Portability means that storage can port from one node to another node and something like that. Okay, so who's making all this thing possible? Volume plugin. Volume plugin is very important. Okay, so now what is a volume? So you probably understand that volume. So here Kubernetes plugin has the capability to provision. Understand that Kubernetes plugins have a capability to provision storage for you, such as AWS plugin. AWS plugin will help you to provision the storage for you, but on AWS infrastructure, something like that. So in a nutshell, Kubernetes understand all of these inline external storage technologies through the volumes plugin. There are different kind of volume plugins are available. Okay, so what exactly volumes helps you with? So volumes in Kubernetes allows you to store data. Understand that outside of the container. Yes, volume, which is powered by volume plugins, allows you to store the data which is outside of the container. Okay, so when the container stop, understand that inside a pod, when the container stop, all data on the container itself is lost. That is the obvious, because you know that containers and pods are ephemeral. So when the container stop, all the data on the container itself is lost. So because of the persistent volume in Kubernetes allows you to attach volume to a container that will exist even when a container stop. So because of the volume, persistent volume in Kubernetes, even the container got stopped, the data will be exist in the external volumes, and that is managed by volume plugins. So volumes are new since the June 2016 release in Kubernetes. So this is the volume. Okay, let's move on. Now look at this. This image is very powerful and very important also. Okay, I'll give you some few seconds to look at it very carefully. Okay, so now look at this here. Here, the pod is a part of the namespace. Look at the stop, operates on and part of. So pod is a part of namespace, whereas volume is a part of pod. Understand that volume is a part of pod, where you look at this here, containers, which is you have a 3 containers right now in this pod, is accessing the same volumes in every container. Okay, where container is a part of the pod and container share the all the volumes which is mounted at the pod in each container. Okay, now there is one image which is also saying the volume is a part of the secret, operates on secret. What exactly this is? Right now I'm not confusing you secret with the secret. We'll talk about little later, but only focus on the part one. So in this image you see very clearly pod is a part of namespace, volume is a part of the pod, container is a part of pod, and all the containers you have in a pod, the volume attached to the pod, you can reference it, you can access it. Is that clear for everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so you always assign the pod volume to the pod. Understand that, never to containers, and container can access that any volume which is assigned to pod. Okay, look at this here. Now do you remember the explain command? I hope you remember explain command. Okay, so how do you define the volume to the pod? Look at this very carefully. How do we define volume to the pod? So you can define the volume to the pod using the pod.spec.volumes field. Yes. And how can you use the volumes which is attached to the pod? You can mount inside the container. So for that you have to use pod.spec.containers.volume mounts. This is nothing but a YAML specifications and explain command. I hope you remember that. Everyone remember that?
Yeah.
Yes, Rajesh.
Yeah. Now look at this here. In this image, you have a one pod, 3 volumes. Look at this here. The volumes are attached to the pod, okay? But same volume, the first volume, look at this, they mounted inside a container 1 var apple, and same volume inside a container 2, they have mounted at a var primary also. So yes, whatever the volume which is attached to the pod, you can mount inside a container anywhere as per your location. Remember, something similar we were doing in the Docker volume also, something similar. Okay, so is that okay for everyone, this slide? Can we move on?
Yes, please.
Now look at this here. This is the live example, okay, of that creating, attaching a volume to the pod and using inside a container. Look at this. You have seen it, so there should not be any question mark in your mind. It's a kind is equal to pod. We started with this one only. Image is Redis, and you see that volume. You look at this here, spec.volumes, and here name of the volume is test vol. What is a host path? So host path is a volume plugin. Again I said, remember, using volume plugin only you can means Kubernetes can understand the external storage. Okay, so there are so many volume plugins are there. One of these are host path. Host path is one of the plugin which will help you to store the data in the node where the pod is running. Again I'm telling you, host path is one of the plugin which allows you to store the data in the pod where node is running, in a node where the pod is running. So that is the reason they have said, okay, host path is a volume plugin, and the location for that host path is test-volume in the root location. Okay, now test-volume is the reference name which you are going to use it in order to mount inside with a container. So now if you see that on top, spec.containers.volume mounts, that section, you see here mount path is equal to test-mnt. That can be anything, but the name of the volume is test-vol, which is matching with the volume's name itself. So this is the simple way you can create a you can have a volumes attached to the pod and mount inside a container. Guys, are you understanding this?
Yeah.
Is it difficult? Now let's move on one more example. I think there was one more example I deleted maybe. Okay, so here this is a look at this image, very simple. There is a node 1 and node 2. Node 1, you have a Docker, and then IP table, kubelet, kubeproxy, all this thing, you know that there is a one pod, and pod has a 2 containers, out of which one container is referencing not the host path, it is accessing the storage technology which is on AWS. So AWS has a multiple storage technologies such as EBS, EFS, S3, like that. These are the storage technology what AWS has it. So here what they are doing, in the node 1 there is one pod running which is called my app, and they are referencing the storage technology on AWS cloud, EBS. Now do you know the properties of EBS, elastic block storage? Do you know that? It's a block storage, guys.
It can be only attached to a single virtual machine. It's a block storage which is used normally to back up the virtual machines. I don't know exactly what you want to know.
Yeah, so at a time you can only attach to the one compute unit. Okay, that's the EBS. In fact, your laptop storage also at a time you can attach to only one compute unit. It can be virtual machine, it can be physical machine. That's a quality of block storage. Whereas a EBS you can attach to the EC2 instance. But here what you are doing, you are attaching to pod. Pod is also compute unit. Okay, so now what happened? Now pod in the node 1 get deleted because of some reason, and deployment will create that pod in the other node, because you know that scheduler has a certain rules which it will follow, though you can customize it, but right now anti-affinity rule, that is the one. So here that pod might get created in the other node. So when it get other node, same storage, you can mount it back. So that way application get the same uh, uh, files. So this is the portability. This is called portability option. Okay, did you understand this storage portability, how it works?
Sure.
Okay, so guys, if you look at this technology in the storage, so primarily we have a three technologies in the storage. One is called block storage, another is called object storage, third one is called file storage. When I say block storage, so then most of the time you can take your hard disk as a block storage, or EBS on cloud, you can take it up as a block storage. When you say object storage, so basically Git is object storage, Docker image is object storage, like that. S3 is object storage, Google Drive is object storage. So these are the object storage. Whereas file storage like NFS, network file system, with our storage which can be accessible over the network. So all this storage, different kind of storage, you can connect to Kubernetes cluster. Okay, you can connect to Kubernetes cluster, but using what? With the help of Kubernetes plugins, volume plugins. So Kubernetes understand that, and then they give it to you, the application which is run by Kubernetes. So these are the technology which we have. Look at this in a different word. You have a AWS cloud, which is a EBS storage, Google Cloud, Google Disk, okay, Microsoft Cloud, Azure Disk, NFS, FS. So many technologies are there, and local volume also left side you see. So basically pod can attach to the local volume host path which I showed you in the previous image, or EBS volume, or NFS volume, or Ceph volumes, or Azure Disk, or Google Disk, or many more. Okay, but with the help of plugins. Okay, so that is done, that can be done. So guys, volumes are typically two type, ephemeral and durable, out of which we are always focusing on the durable. But again, as part of this training, I will teach you ephemeral also. Okay, ephemeral you don't need it because we are having this session because of the data persistency only, but we have to discuss because there's one plugins available for that as well. So ephemeral, type of the volumes, durable, type of the volume. What does the ephemeral stand for? What is the use of ephemeral volume? That volumes will be staying as long as the pods are staying. If pod get disappeared, volumes also would get disappear. Where durable is the one volume which we wanted is a beyond pod's life cycle. That means if the pod has gone, then the volume should not, data should not be going. So that's called durable. So these are the two volumes type. Make sense, guys?
Yep.
Okay, now you must be wondering, okay, plugins is which is empowering the Kubernetes to understand the external storage such as object storage, network storage, or block storage. So which are the plugins are available? So guys, this is the plugins are available. Maybe these slides maybe outdated, maybe I'm just telling you because I think few months before I updated. So you can look at the bottom line, there is one URL, one or two maximum will get added or something. So these are the one. Look at this: AWS, Azure, Cinder, config map, mtdir, host path, git repo got deprecated by the way, and so many types of, you are using vSphere volume, and many things. Okay, so these are the volume plugin which is empowering the Kubernetes to understand the Kubernetes, to help the Kubernetes to understand the external storage. And again, these storage get attached to the pod and mounted inside the container for the persistency of the data. Okay, so these are the pipe. If you want to convert into the categories, look at this one. So these are the types of volume again. So here all this same plugin got converted into the different context, like empty-dir and host path is a host based volumes. Okay, block storage like EBS and GCA and all the stuff like that, which is a block storage. Distributed file system, NFS, which is very popular. Ceph is also very popular. Amazon EFS also you can use it if you want, and others are also there. Some of them got deprecated as well. Okay, are you comfortable with this category? Everyone?
Yes, it's basically a block store over network.
Yeah, distributed file system, NFS. Okay, so guys, the question is, how do we provision? How do we use that? How do we provision? Provisioning is the main thing, right? So see here, understand this perspective. Kubernetes should know those storage are available. If the Kubernetes know those storage are available with the help of the volume plugin, then only Kubernetes can give those to the pod, right? Just imagine in this way, I'll tell you. See, all of you must be using AWS, correct? I believe that at least one cloud you are using. So you go and assign 10 GB of volume or 20 GB of volume, 30 GB, 100 GB, 200 GB. So you go and create those volumes, but those volumes was made it available by someone else, right? AWS team, right? Getting your points, guys? Are you getting my points? So those volumes will be available by AWS team. Then only you are going and buying 10 GB, 20 GB, 30 GB, 40 GB, 100 GB and assigning to the EC2 instance. Is that right, guys?
Yes.
So before using, the Kubernetes should be having those volumes, right? That is called provisioning. That is called provisioning. How can you provision the Kubernetes volumes to the Kubernetes cluster? Because if you Kubernetes don't have those volumes, Kubernetes will not be able to understand. So Kubernetes will not be able to allocate to pod. That is the thing. So this is called provisioning. Now guys, provisioning itself is there two types. Okay, provisioning itself, there are two types. One is static, one is dynamic. So for example, I'll put it in this way. What is a static and what is dynamic? So when I say static, that means what is happening? See that I go to the AWS console and I created 20 GB of volume. That means if I go to AWS console and I created 20 GB of volume, that means AWS team has made those volumes already available. Already available. Are you getting my points, guys?
Yes,
Hello.
Rajesh.
Yeah, please do not sleep because I know everyone has a heavy lunch. So let's be there. So here, so I was telling you, AWS might have created those volumes earlier before you claim it, right? So this process where the persistent volume is already available and then you claim it, for example, in short, in Kubernetes keyword we call it PV need to be created before PVC. PV means persistent volume need to be created before persistent volume claim. Yes, so that means volume should be existed before I create volume on AWS. Simple. This process is called static process. Okay, this process called static process. But there is a dynamic process also. In the dynamic process, what happens? Persistent volume is created at the same time of the PVC. That means I'll put it in this way. Let's say if I say AWS give me 1 TB of volume, then AWS will get that volume at the same time. Somehow it was not available previously, but it will get, depends on my request from their physical infrastructure. So that will be called dynamic. That means what they will do, they have a physical infrastructure, based upon my request only they will add that volume to the AWS infrastructure. So something like that. So that process is being called as a dynamic provisioning. Okay, so guys, there's a two provisionings: static provisioning, dynamic provisioning. What is a provisioning? Provisioning is a way to inform Kubernetes cluster saying that these are the volumes available for the use by the pods. But whereas there are again two types of volumes provisioning: static and dynamic. Okay, so guys, is that making sense to all of you? Please remember, PV means persistent volume, PVC means persistent volume claim. All of you?
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. Yes, got it.
Yeah. Okay, just again, give me a second. So guys, so these are the API resources we will be learning in the next sometime. We will learn what is a persistent volume, what is a persistent volume claim, what is a storage class, volume attachment, and so many. So let's get started. So here, let's talk about the static provisioning in detail. Static provisioning, the one is one of the provisioning. Look at this: provisioning, binding, using, reclaiming. These are the life cycle of a volume and claim, out of which I'm talking about the provisioning, static provisioning. So look at this here. When you do the provisioning, you do use that persistent volume. Yes, when you do the provisioning, you use the persistent volume API resources. Where you do the binding, use the persistent volume claim. When you use it, use the volume pod.spec.volume, remember, and reclaiming is the definition. So these are the three objects, the three API objects we're going to use it. So guys, what is the difference between PV and PVC? I think we discussed persistent volume is a piece of storage in a cluster. Yes, if it is available, then this it's called PV, and PVC is a claim. So in a simple way, I tell you, AWS made it available so much of storage. So that storage, the process of getting that storage is called persistent volume. But you go and log into the console, and you say, I want to claim it 20 GB out of it. So you are claiming it, persistent volume claim. That's called PVC. In short, request for the storage. PVC stand for request for the storage, whereas the PV stand for piece of storage in cluster. Okay, so PV versus PVC. So look at this guys here. You have a physical infrastructure. In the static provisioning, what happens? You have a physical infrastructure. So first PV get created, then PVC get created, and then apps can use in the pod. This is the static. Let's little bit deep understand that physical storage. So physical storage instance that you can use to persist your data. Example of physical storage in IBM cloud, or this the other data. So physical storage, you understand this. Now persistent volume, which we have discussed, again let's close this chapter. A persistent volume is a piece of storage in the cluster. Again, piece of storage in the cluster. that has been provisioned by whom? Who's provisioning? By administrator. So this is important, guys. So who will do that? So in the Kubernetes also, there will be one guy who will be administrator, who will make this persistent volume available, who will be provisioning it. But who will be using it? Programmers, developers, those who want to run the pod. So this is how it is. So now, yes, persistent volume is a piece of storage in a cluster that has been provisioned by an administrator. Now it is a resources in the cluster, just like a node is a cluster resources. Yes, I told you guys, Kubernetes is a platform, whereas node is a compute platform for the what? Pod. Whereas volume is the PV is also a resources, but for what? For the persistent storage. Okay, so understand that PVs are volume plugin. PVs are volume plugins like a volumes, but have a life cycle independent of any individual pod that uses PV. That means even the pod is gone, the life cycle of the volume will be there, because their life cycle is not aligned. Volumes life cycle are different, pod's life cycle is different. So even the pod is gone, volume will be there. Volume will be there. This is called persistent volume. Now what is a PVC? So it's a way to request for the storage, who's by what? By user. It is similar to the pod. Okay, a pod consume node resources. Understand that. Pod, see, PV is something similar to node, PVC is something similar to pod. Understand that. So pod consume what resources? Node resources. Node resources means CPU, RAM. Whereas PVC consume what? PV. Yes, PVC consume what? PV. Hardcode this stuff. So a persistent volume claim is a request for storage by user. It is similar to pod. Pod consume node resources and PV consume PV resources. PVCs consume PV resources. So understand this way. Okay. So guys, ultimately PVs are the resources in the cluster. PVCs are the request for those resources and act as a claim check to the resources. Did you understand this statement?
Yes, Rajesh.
Okay. So guys, look at this static provisioning of file storage. Okay, look at the number 1, 2, 3 and 4. So first thing, administrator will create a PV. Okay, step number 1. Then step number 2, that PV will be empowered by external storage with the help of the plugin. Yes, plugin, because remember Kubernetes uses the plugins for understanding the external storage. Okay, after that PV is created, then last user means administrator will create a PV, user will ask for the PVCs for the pod, and then he will get the PVC. So third step is dependent on the PV's availability. If the PVC is requested, if the PV is available, then only everything will happen, and this is called static provisioning. Again, same thing, whatever we discussed in detail, you have it here. I'll just skip it. Okay, so here, look at this. Here you have a pod, you have a one PVC. So when you request for the PVC look for the PVs which is available by administrator, and these PVs is empowered by, these PVs are empowered by EBS volumes. Okay, understood guys?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so guys, look at the hierarchies of it, probably you'll understand better. Initially physical storage, then persistent volume, then persistent volume claim, then mount points, and then pod, you have it. So this is the persistent volume can be provisioned through the different technologies. For example, you can use ICSCI, NFS, GC, or whatever it is, different technologies. Okay, look at this. This is a complete one more time, same view but in a different pictures. Look at that, there's one guy user, there's one guy administrator. So step number 1, administrator do the provisioning with the different technology. Then user request a claim. When the request a claim look for the PVs in the pool of the PV. Yeah, that's true. Claim request a claim, then claim PVC will look for the PVs in the pool of the PV, and then who will make this pool of PVs? Administrator. So this is a static provisioning, by the way. Okay, and then third, claim request is honored and pod will get volumes and containers will be mounted. That is how it happens. So after a successful bind, the PVC's resources can be used in the pod. That is what I showed you. First image itself, code itself directly, pod code. So guys, again, this is the PVC complete flow. Look at this. User, administrator create a pool of PVs, user request for the PVCs from the pool of PVs, and then step number third, owner is yes. If owner is happened, then that get attached to the pod, and then pod, whatever the volume get attached to the pod, that can be accessible inside a container, which I have already shown you in a detailed way. Did you understand this?
Yeah.
Got it, Rajesh. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the whole process of static. So guys, what is a dynamic then? So dynamic, I just said, the PV will be created at the same time when PVC happen. Yeah, that is dynamic. So dynamic provisioner take little bit more seconds, but it's cheaper. It's a cheaper. For example, let me tell you in this way. You have created a AWS cluster. Now you created 20 PVs. Each PVs is 100 GB. So now these 20 PVs you have created already. That means you are paying for AWS these 20 PVs, 100 GB each one of these. But your user are using out of 20 maybe 4 only. So this is a waste of resources, right? 16 you are paying for nothing because you have consumed it already from AWS. So you have to pay for it, right? But dynamic provisioning will solve that problem. So dynamic provisioning, how it works? Let's look at this. So dynamic provisioning, first when the PVC you demanded, then basically it will access one of the storage class, and storage class you have a manifest defined. Okay, whenever some PVC happen, the storage class has a manifest defined, and that manifest will create a PV on demand, and then PV make it available, and then attach to the PVC, make it available for the PVC, bound to the PVC, and then rest of the things will happen with the pod. Okay, so this is happen dynamically on demand. Are you getting my points? What is happening? So now what is needed for this PVC dynamic provisioning? You need a storage class. Yes, you need a storage class. Guys, did you understand this?
Yep.
Hello?
Yes, Rajesh. Yeah. Yes, Rajesh. You got it.
Yeah, now let's look at one more example here. Look at this here. Okay, so first step number one, PVC is requested. PVC is look for the PV which is not found. So PVC immediately call the storage class. Storage class will create a PV from the physical infrastructure and claim will be respected. So this is called dynamic provisioning. Again, in detail, you have this description later. Whatever we have discussed, the same thing. Done. So guys, please read this. I would request you all to read this to conclude this static provisioning and dynamic provisioning.
I assume that dynamic provisioning is only available basically on cloud platforms.
On the cloud platform, yes, that's true. I mean, you can make it available for the vSpheres and also, but you have to make it available. So that way, anyways, you are paying. So why don't you go for the static provisioning in that case? But cloud platform,
You have fixed resources anyway. It's not like you can make them up from thin air. You have to actually allocate the resources in the first place if it's your bare bones, bare metal server.
right? Yeah, correct. So yeah, cloud is a one which is where you can save some cost also. Okay, so I hope you have got, guys, the static versus dynamic, all of you.
Yes, Rajesh.
Okay, so guys, now let's discuss about the life cycle of volume and claim. So look at this here. Provisioning we were discussing, binding, using, and reclaiming. So provisioning, basically there's a two type which I have talked about it. Static provisioning, dynamic provisioning using storage class. Binding you happen with the PVC binding. Okay. Using you do through the volumes and volume mounts. Volume means pod.spec.volumes and volume mounts means pod.spec.containers pod.spec.containers.volume mounts. And what you want to do, this is a retain, delete, and recycle. That means if the, let's say if the volume is used in the pod and pod is gone, so do you want to retain it? That's a default feature of this. Or you want to delete it or recycle it. Recycle means it will be available for the physical storage, but return it means that value will be that volume will be related, not be deleted, and delete means that volume will be deleted and recycle will not happen. So recycle means you'll again recreate that volume again, PV. So these are the rules are there. So guys, this is the last one for understanding purpose. Please look at this image, it will give you the complete picture. Okay, so let's move on. So now we have to discuss about the plugins. So guys, we have talked about so many plugins, okay, like mtdir plugin, host path plugin, GC plugin, AWS Elastic Blocks, NFS plugin, secret plugin, persistent volume claim. So many plugins we discuss about it. So we'll start with some of the plugins, which is called mtdir plugin. Okay, these are the plugins now. Okay, so the plugin which I showed you, list of plugins which is supported at Kubernetes. So what is the mtdir plugin? So mtdir plugin basically is a inferal storage actually. That means inferal volumes. So what happens typically? Mtdir is the moment you delete the pod, the mtdir also get deleted. So let's read this here. Mtdir volume plugin is the first created when a pod is assigned to a node and initially it is empty. Okay, the volume of the type empty that lasts for the life of the pod, even the container terminate and restart it. But if the containers in the pod crashes, the mtdir content is unaffected. But if all the containers in the pod share and all the containers in the pod share the same mtdir volume, but there's a one thing: each container can independently mount the mtdir at the same time or the different path which I have discussed. Using mtdir, the kubelet will create a directory in the container but not mount any storage. The container in a pod can read and write the same files in the mtdir volumes. Through the volumes can be mounted the same or different path as the container. Last is important: when a pod is removed from the node for any reason, the data in the mtdir is deleted forever along with the container. So mtdir basically is a inferal volume. That means the pod is gone, data is also gone. Pod created, mtdir will be created. Pod container got restarted inside a pod, mtdir will be unaffected, and so on. So this is, guys, mtdir. Now you want to see that location. So look at the last line. Okay, too much of reading is there. Last line, where the mtdir volume will be stored in the node, the pod, the place where we have a pod, this place var lib kubelet pods pod id volumes kubernetes.io mtdir www. So this is the location of the mtdir. Now Some of the use cases for the empty-dir is scratch spaces such as for the disk-based merging sorting, checkpointing for long computations for recovery from crashes or something. So yeah, anything which is temporary and you want to store the data only as long as the pod is there, you can use this empty-dir. Look at this is the code example, good code. Very carefully look at this. Kind is equal to pod.spec.volume is empty-dir, name of the search volume that will be created inside this location. Understand this. This location, last line, look at it. Okay. And now pod.spec.containers.volume mounts inside the container is getting mounted at the scratch volume. Did you understand this?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's understand the second one example. Same code, just a different context. Image. Now, next plugin which I'm going to talk about, HostPath. HostPath is the kind of plugin which I showed you to begin with also. Okay, so what exactly the HostPath plugin is doing? The HostPath plugin volume mount the resources from the host node file system only. Yes, HostPath, as name suggests, it will create a volume mount to the resources from the host node file system only. Okay, the resources could be a directory, it can be file socket also, character or block devices also. These resources, there's something got deleted maybe by mistake. Okay, so as host path volume mount a file or directory from the host node file system in your pod. The host path per system volume must be used only in the single node cluster. That's the problem here. Okay, whenever you use the host path, what happens? It will create a volume in the same node where you had a pod. Now the pod get replaced to the other node because of some reason, then the volumes will not be portable. Yes, host path is not a portable. That is a problem with the host path. Empty-dir, the problem was the pod is gone, empty-dir volume also cleaned up. But here host path also has a one problem. Host path can be a persistent. The host path, the behavior is pod is gone, the volume will not be gone. But there is a problem. If the pod is replaced with the other node, then in that volume will not be portable. That is a major disadvantage. So here that is what third line is saying. The host path persistent volume must be used only in a single node cluster. Kubernetes does not support host path on a multi-node cluster currently. That means it can support, it's not like it's not supporting, but the portability will not be there. You cannot use that same volume again for the pod if it got created in the some other node. Okay, so look at this here. The directory created on underlying host are only writable by root. You either need to run your process as a root in a privileged container or modify the file system on the host to be able to write to a host path volume. Okay, so this is the host path. Let's read few more about it. This is not something that most pod will need, but it offers a powerful escape hatch for some applications. So sometime when you want to store the data in the host path only, same node where it ran first time, you can use it. Okay, so most of the time people use a host path for running a container that need access to a Docker internal. Yes, Docker internal. Remember, Docker is located at the varlib Docker. So they use the host path to see that file system, what is been there and stuff like that. Okay, so guys, host path, did you understand this? There is a two main jargons for host path. Host path volumes will be persistent even the pod is gone, means pod is deleted. But if the pod is moved to other nodes, that volumes cannot be reattached to the same volumes. Okay, so this is the something we have to understand that. Did you understand that, guys? The host path.
Yep.
Okay, look at the code here. Look at the code here. I showed you one code to begin with also. Okay, this is the host path. Now the guys, to overcome this, we have a NFS, secret.
Rajesh, we are not able to hear.
Hello.
Rajesh?
I think he's not there.
Okay, okay.
I guess we can't hear you.
If you liked our Kubernetes session so far, please enroll for our channel membership 399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Rajesh has internet problem. He'll be connecting back in few minutes. Just hold on. Okay.
Guys, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, yes.
Rajesh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Raj.
Okay. Give me a second. I was asking one. NF everyone.
Your voice is breaking. What did you ask again?
Guys, are you there? I ask, do you know, guys, how NFS works?
Yes. Not, I am aware. Most of the people should be aware.
Yeah. So to overcome a problem of host path, okay, because host path cannot be portable. That is a major problem. So host path cannot be portable. To port that host path, we have a next plugin which is called NFS, which I'll show you the demo during that. So that way. Now next thing is what is a secret? Okay, and one more thing we have config map. So what is secret and config map? So guys, understand this. Config map is a kind of storage, okay, is a kind of storage where you store only key and value. Okay, understand that. Config map is a kind of storage which store only in the form of key and value, but it will be stored not in a physical storage, but it will be stored under the etcd only. Okay, that means etcd is for the file where we store so many desire, this, that, and all. So that place only you will store some more data, but that you can refer in your application of your pod. So yes, in that case you can use config map. Guys, did you understand this? So again, I'm repeating, config map is a kind of storage which is being stored in the cluster only in a etcd in a form of key and value, whereas in the pod you can use to see the value in the inside the container when you mount it. Okay, that's a config map. But there is one drawbacks of config map, and the drawbacks is you can see what is the value. Anyone can get that value using the kubectl get config map and name of the config map. Anyone can get the value. So that way it is not sometimes safe. Let's say you are writing a password or certificates or some token, so it's not a safe, you anyone can see that content. So what we do to overcome that config map drawbacks, we have a secret. So again, what is a secret? So secret also guys, understand this. Secret also is one of the API object for storing the data. Secret also gets stored inside a Kubernetes API control plane itself in a etcd, and also this gets stored in the in the form of key and value. But there is a difference between secret and config map. Config map will store as you have stored it as it is, but secret need to be encoded. Yes, I said encoded. I'm not saying encrypted. Don't understand that there is a difference, huge difference between encoding and encryption. Okay, so yes, in a secret, whatever the data you stored, such as credentials, keys, password, or whatever the secret data, it will get encoded. Okay, so it will get encoded for the little bit of more security. Again, if you want to encrypt it, you can use the external services such as vault services also. Okay, so this is the secret. How can you use the secret in your pod? So look at this here. This is the pod. Look at it very carefully. Secret and config map has something similarities. Look at this here. Pod dot spec dot volumes. Look at this. Plugin name is secret. Name of the plugin is DV secret. Named with the cred volume. Cred volume again mounting it. Pod dot spec dot containers dot volume mounts, that is being mounted. So in that place you get the content values as it is. This is the way you can create a secret through YAML file. First file. I'll show you the demo. Don't worry about it. So this is the secret. This is the config map. Look at this. Pod dot spec dot volumes config map. Here you have a volume mounts. Pod dot spec dot containers dot volume mount. That's a config hyphen volume. Okay, so guys, we have discussed so far so many things. Now let's do some notepad work before demo can be started. So here guys, first thing is Kubernetes. I'm just sum up this stuff, whatever. Kubernetes does not understand storage technology. That's the first thing. Kubernetes does not understand storage technology. Now, what is the technology what we have? So there's a primarily three kind of technology we have: block storage, object storage, and file system, network file system, which is this one. Now, second thing we understand,
Rajesh,
volume plugin.
Rajesh, sorry, we lost you from the second point. You have to repeat it.
Is divided into, again, some of the volumes plugin which we discussed about: empty dir, host path, okay. What else we discussed? NFS,
Config map,
config map,
secrets.
secret. These are the things. By the way, guys, I'm not using the cloud related platform like EBS or Google Cloud and all right now. Okay, so this is the one. Now, third thing. Now, there are ways to provision a storage for Kubernetes. Which are the ways? So something which is called provisioning. Provisioning we do, static also we do, dynamic also we do. So dynamic also we do. Dynamic. Static provisioning we do through, I forgot that object name. What was that? What was that? Guys, anyone remember? Static
Don't
provisioning
administration.
using PV, no, persistent volume, right? Correct? Yeah, and dynamic provisioning,
PVC.
storage class. Yeah. So now here binding. How you do the binding? Through the PVC. Binding means you are allocating for yourself. So who will do this provisioning? By developers, right? Provisioning will be done by developers. Huh? Administrator. Yeah, and binding will be done by user, right? Now here using it by user also. So by user, how can you use it? So already you know that, but still I'm writing pod.spec.volumes here, and then pod.spec.containers dot volume mounts. Okay, so guys, this is the summary what we have for the volumes. Did you understand this, all of it? Can I get into the demo?
Yes.
Okay, so now let's get into the demo. So first of all, I have to log in to the cluster. So I close everything because my system got restarted 2 times during lunch hour.
Rajesh, just right click on the putty or go
Yeah,
to
tell me.
no to not to discard multiple times. You can keep the session live. Just right click on the putty, go to settings, change settings, change settings. Click on connection. No, from top second, yeah. Instead of 0, put 1.
Okay,
Apply, that's it.
thank you.
So it'll keep the interactive.
Okay. Okay, guys. So here, Kubernetes, Rajesh. Now, guys, understand that what I'm doing. First, I'm doing empty dir value, empty dir demo. Okay. So empty dir. So here it's empty dir. So, guys, the question is, where is empty dir file? So for that, I need sample programs. So let me copy paste. So this is the empty dir. In detail, you can study little bit later, offline hours. Okay, I'll move on to the demo part. So this is the things. I need only example program. You can read it, this one, offline hours. Here it is. Okay. One advanced program is also there. You can check it out. But for time being, this is the one. So now look at this here. This is the name of the test PD, and I'll change this image name NGINX. Okay, NGINX. Now inside NGINX, or I want to have my own image. The reason is in my image I have installed few things, and so let's get it. Some utility, additional utility, I have installed it, so I can use it without any problem. So I'm using my image. Okay, so you can use my image also. Okay, so now what we are doing, pod.spec.volumes, here empty dir. Now empty dir will be mounted inside the container at cache. Okay, this is the one. Here I am vi empty.yaml file, and save it, kubectl create -f empty -n is equal to Rajesh. And here there is some problem in the program. What is this? Okay, I know that version. Yeah. So version got mismatched. I mean, got missed out here. So save it, rerun. Now guys, it got created. So now if you see here, get pod, see here, terminating. Oh, sorry, -n Rajesh. See here, this is the pod is running right now. So it's running right now, and this pod, I will go inside it. Unfortunately, I forgot the command. Can you help me?
You can go attach or execute.
No. Why attach? This engine.
ext -.
Yeah. So bin bash. Okay. So I am inside exec it -n is equal to Rajesh. Okay, I am inside this. Can we see that mapping has come or not? th, tf hyphen kh. See here, cache is there, no? Is the one. So if I go into cache, I'll put name touch rajesh.txt. This is the file I created. Okay. Now exit. Now where this file? So var kubelet var lib kubelet. Okay. So you have to become a sudo for this to access this directory. Okay. And here find dot name rajesh.txt. Should be somewhere. Pods search is not working. Maybe that is not coming. Now how do we find out? So why it's not coming? I'm not able to understand. Why it's not coming? Any idea, guys? Anyone? It should come, no? Guys,
Yeah.
any idea?
Can you do just tell us if see which folder is latest one? We can go and look into that.
Okay, that's a good practice, but
Why it is not coming? Even I'm thinking of no clue.
yeah. Anyone think of?
Can you use locate command?
No, I search find command. It didn't work.
Can you show very quickly the configuration file again?
Something else. Think about it.
We have not created a PV yet.
No, PV is not needed. It's the same node. No?
Okay.
PV is not needed. That's for external storage, no? Remember, external storage. PV is for external storage. This was not an external storage, no? Node only, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Guys, you forgot that.
Can you describe the pod?
No. It's a master, right? How can you find it? Pod getting created in node, right? Node, you have to go, right? Node. So you have to go to the node. Which node? 37 node. Did you understand this? Guys, are you there with me?
Yes. Yes.
The pod will be created in the node now. I'm searching in the master. It's not good, right?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So understand that perspective. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Rajesh. Yeah.
Sorry, my broadband my broadband has come, so I connected with the broadband, so that will give me good speed. Yeah, so here we were discussing about 137, right? So CentOS, kubectl, (137) machines. So here, let's go. And I need the IP address for this. Here is the IP address. So look at this here. New session. Click OK. Yes. Okay. So CentOS sudo -s. Okay. Now sudo -s, and now cd var lib kubelet. Now find dot name rajesh dot txt, and you found out. So guys, this is a empty dir. Did you understand this empty dir, everyone? Guys, hello,
Yes, Rajesh.
hello.
Yes, Rajesh.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So now there is a one disadvantage with empty dir, and that disadvantage is, let me tell you, Kubernetes Rajesh, and here I can, if I delete kubectl, delete -f, this name -n is equal to Rajesh. See, I deleted the pod, and you see here I searched the file. It's gone. So that's the only disadvantage what we have with empty dir. That means empty dir is unparalleled storage. Make sense, guys? Can I show you the host path now?
Yeah.
Okay, so now next one is a host path. Okay, host path. Okay guys, host path has a one advantage. That means even the pod is gone, the volumes will not get deleted, but there's a disadvantage also. The pod is gone, volume will not be deleted, but if the pod get replaced to the second node, then the volume is lost. That is a problem. That is a problem. So the volume will not be portable. So that's the problem. So
Harsh, can you repeat?
do
I
this
didn't
volume?
hear you. This last line.
I said host path has a one advantage. The advantage is pod is gone, the volume will not be deleted, but there is a having one disadvantage. Disadvantage is the pod, if the pod is a part of the deployment, so definitely it will create in a some other node of your cluster. In that case, the volume which was earlier created is not portable. That means you won't get that same data. Did you understand this? Portability is not there. Yeah, so this is the host path. Okay guys, so now I am going to show you one example for it. Host path. Okay, again, all the descriptions you have it, please read it, get a confident, and then do that. And this is the host path. Okay, so here is a reference. I need only sample code, so I'll just copy it from here. You have already used those sample code many times. Okay, now here, this is the image I'm replacing. Now you see here, pod.spec.volume. This is the host path where is happening this data, creating star root, a root data, and where you are inside a container, you are mounting test PD. Okay, so let's do this. I am doing here. So here vi host path dot YAML. Okay, there's a problem here in this line
Rajesh, you can
because
remove the line which has commented, then copy. Otherwise, it will not allow you to do it.
okay, so here, so now this is the stuff. Now I'm going to create it kubectl create -f and host path -n is equal to Rajesh. Okay, now I created this pod. So kubectl get a pod, kubectl get a pod -n is equal to Rajesh. Now what is the pod name? I forgot. What is the pod name? Test PD. So here test PD is running. Which is the host is running? -o white. Okay, so it's running inside a test PD is running inside 137. Okay, it's running in 137. Okay, so can I change this? Okay, one more thing here. This is running in 137. Wait a second. $137. So what should I do? I should do something different, and for that I am going to do something different, and that is, let me do that. You don't have example here? No problem. Do you have example of deployment? Yeah, I have it. Yeah. So vi dep. Okay, guys, this is the file deployment. And this is the my file. This is my file. So okay, so vi deployment. This is the file. Now what I'm going to do is someone is changing my file, I guess. No? Okay. So guys, look at this, what I'm doing. Volumes, copy. Okay. And done. See here, spec.container, spec.volume. It should be in the same path. So I have to unsave this, open up this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. YAML is a problem. Okay, I think manually only I have to do that. No problem. This is the volume. Okay, I'll just match this. Volume, name, host is matching same. Path with a 2 space. Type. Good. So now you see here, it will create a volume. How many replicas I want? I just wanted 2 replicas. Okay, 2 replicas. Okay, so here, this is the stuff. Okay, this is the also you can try. So everything is okay. Saved it. Now what I'm going to do is kubectl create -f dep.yaml -n is equal to Rajesh. Now it got created get pod get pod hyphen n is equal to Rajesh. Now here just focus on only this one. Okay, this is my pod which I, okay, where is this pod? Hyphen n hyphen o white. This got created. Only focus on this one only. Two pod. So these two pod. Okay. So it's got one got created in, both got created in the same node, by the way. Okay, if you look at this, both got created in the same node. 137, 137. That's good. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete all this pod. So it happens for good. I'm going to delete this pod. So kubectl delete pod hello pod 1 2 3 4 5 hyphen n is equal to Rajesh. I deleted all the pods, so now the chances of getting created in another node is more. Okay. It's coming. Still taking time to delete. It's taking more than expected time, I guess. Ah, it's taking too much time. What happened? Are you able to hear me, guys?
Yes, Rajesh.
Okay, so it was taking too much time, so I just cancelled it. So there's one port which is pending. Let me delete now manually. F1n is equal to Rajesh. Oh, come on. Not sure why was the reason for this.
Can we run logs and see what happens?
Kubelet logs you can see in the node where it's creating, but which node, that is the problem.
Can you force delete? Something like that.
What is that?
Force
Okay,
delete.
let's right now. Okay, just okay. So it's okay. It got some problem with that. That's the reason it's got not okay. No problem. So here right now hyphen o white. So here both are in the same node. Okay. Now I want to check one more time deployment. It's correctly done or not. So see here, I added the volume. That's okay, but I'm not having inside a container. That's my mistake. So I am going to add this one. Okay, inside this. So let's do this. So here, clear the screen. vi dep here under the image and port. So containers dot containers. YAML is a little bit problem, so you have to make sure that containers volume mounts name. So one space and remaining, I don't know why it's coming. Remaining 1 2 space. Two. Okay. Now yeah. So I hope it is clear now. Now let's do this. So here I'm kubectl delete -f dep.yaml -n
Can't we apply and
Rajesh.
take these changes impacted?
This is a volume, so volume can be edited. Yes, let me try. Apply -f dep -n is equal to Rajesh. Got done. So here, so they will replace that container. I guess volume specification got changed. No? Just let me check. kubectl get pods -n is equal to Rajesh and see terminate. And this is the one. So can I check this whether kubectl describe pod this pod -n is equal to Rajesh. Now if I see here volume data, got it, and container mounted at test pd, that's good. Okay, so it has happened. Now what you can do is now I can go inside one of the container. So kubectl get before that I will read that o wide so both got created in the same node. Okay, you see the same node. So here now I wish it should create in the next time different node, but we can wish for it. Now I'm going to inside the kubectl exec -it container id -name sorry bin bash -n is equal to Rajesh. I'm inside it. I'll go to the location test pd, here it is, and touch raju.txt. This is the unique file. Now exit raju.txt under the data. So now again, what is your pod is got created in the 16.11. okay, so 16.11. so let's first validate it 16.11. so this is the worker, this is the worker, so IP address is this one. I'm logging into that new here. Open up, yes, CentOS and data. Okay, ls see raju.txt. You see here the file dep.yaml, not this. So dep.yaml, you see here, see data, and inside the container this is the location. So raju.txt is there. Now I am wishing it should create in a, if I delete the container, it should create in another other node. So just to be safer side, I will check that how many deployments we have, and hyphen all namespaces. So now these are the namespaces which is I am deleting. These are the few important ones. So delete deploy Madhu P hyphen n is equal to Madhu, and deploy my dep test hyphen n is equal to Madhu. Okay, so okay, so now I'm wishing that if I delete my pod, it should create inside another node. Okay, so both are in the same node. Now let's delete this pod. So kubectl delete. Which pod I had did this? Anyone remember? Exit this pod. I'm deleting 76. Okay, so kubectl delete pod, and pod name here it is, and hyphen n is equal to Rajesh. Okay, I delete. Pod got deleted. I'm wishing that it should create in the other node. That way I can show you the. So what is the replace port? This one. And I got lucky. It got created in another node where 37. So can I go inside this and check do we have a raju.txt or not? So here exec and test pd, and raju.txt is not there. So that, but the data is still there. Remember I deleted that, but data is still there in that another node raju.txt. Did you understand this, everyone? Nice.
Yes.
So this side did discuss about the mkdir, then host path. Okay, I'll give you the all the examples, you have it. In fact, you can copy from my code also. I'm committing it now. So okay, exit, by the way, I'm committing now. So what you have to do is get pull origin master, pulling first, then get add hyphen all, get config user dot name Rajesh, get config user dot email DevOps at the rate of Rajesh Kumar dot xyz, git add done, commit hyphen m adding, and finally pushing this all this code, so you should not lose it in this file. Origin master. Okay, DevOps hyphen school password done. Okay guys, so now I will update these nodes to you to the same place at the GitHub. I will give you 25 minutes to do that with a peace of mind, and support me to get it done before 4:25. So we'll have an NFS next topic. NFS is the solution for portability. I'm updating the node. Just give me a few seconds. Hello? Hello?
Yes, you're able to hear you.
Okay, cool. Sorry, there's some network problem today, too much actually. Not sure why is that. Suddenly, though we have a back.
Thanks for watching. If you liked our Kubernetes session so far, please enroll for our channel membership $399 plan to get access of all the parts. Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest.
Thanks for watching.